every single one of us deals with payment every single day. Whether we're a business trying to accept payment or we're a consumer trying to spend our money, payment isn't new and payment isn't the problem. People think payment is the problem, but it's not the problem. But before I get into that, a little bit about me is I'm the founder of a company called HonkMobile. Honk is one of the parking startups that was referred to earlier. Believe it or not, people do drive. There are less spots and more cars on the road, so technology to help you find it, search it, reserve it, pay for it is becoming more and more important. Our cities are becoming denser, more and more traffic, the environmental effects of idling and circling, so technology is going to solve this problem. As they mentioned, I've actually sold the same payment company twice. Probably the only person you'll ever meet that's not in prison for saying that. But I will tell you that I was able to do that because the company I sold to in 2008, right after the sky started falling, was the victim of the largest credit card security breach in history at that time. So I've seen some very interesting things in the payment industry. And as I said, I'm here to ask a couple questions that maybe will help you understand why you do what you do as a consumer and or help you better accept payments as a business, because for those of you who want to start companies in this room, getting paid is probably a pretty nice thing. So first of all, about the payment industry. I know people want to drink beer, so I'm going to try to be quick with this. But it's a 50-year-old industry that constantly embraces disruptive technology, like no industry I've ever seen. So for an industry around 50 years, if I said to you things like Uber or Starbucks app or Stripe or Square or the mobile point of sale terminal that TELUS is giving away, or I saw Pluto at the back of the room, 10 years ago these things didn't exist. And today these things are commonplace. So entrepreneurs are constantly innovating, investors are writing checks, and what is new today or commonplace today didn't exist just a few short years ago. So it's a pretty cool place to be, and I'm constantly amazed at some of the ideas. But here's the thing. People think payment is the problem. Payment isn't the problem. Confusion, trust, and convenience are the problems. And these are what we as consumers are trying to solve or are embracing, and it's what companies are trying to innovate against. So I'm going to discuss those three problems, and then it's almost beer time. I know there's one more presentation, so we'll move on. First of all, lack of trust. So all of us out there as consumers, we feel we give up too much personal information. People know where we are, how often we're there. So as a business, you really need to think about why should a consumer trust you, right? Especially the startups in the room, right? Why will a consumer trust you? Just because you have the newest widget in the room is not enough. And consumers, it's more than a third of the consumers don't trust. Secondly, convenience. I see a ton of mobile payments. I'm a mentor. I'm an investor on top of being a founder. And I see a ton of mobile payment technology or payment technology generally that makes my life more complex. And I'm thinking to myself, why on earth do I need to do this? There are transactions where cash is king, and I will use cash every single day of the week. But finally, mobile wallet. Apple's in it, Google's in it. Starbucks is the most successful one, and only 15% of their transaction volume happens to run through it, which means fully 85% doesn't. Consumers are totally apathetic about it. So this is the convergence of trust and convenience, yet it's not there. And I hear my alarm going off. So I will leave it on one final thought, and that is, as a business and or as a consumer, at the end of the day, currencies will change, technologies will change. From a payment perspective, as businesses, the consumer is going to win. And to this date, not enough mobile or payment technology has been out there that's been consumer focused. It's all been merchant focused, and thus it hasn't been successful. So in your businesses, think about the consumer first, give the consumer those options, and watch them beat a path to your door. Questions? We have one at the back. I mean, I think there are online banks. So the question was, well, I think they exist. They do exist. So the question was, PayPal was originally formed to be an online bank, and when do I think those will exist? I think you see those things. You see peer-to-peer money. You see mobile-first economies in Asia, in Africa, that are way ahead of where we are. So they do exist. I think North America, by virtue of being first, is actually behind in a lot of respects. So they do exist. Peer-to-peer lending, Bitcoins, like stuff exists.
So how do you build trust with consumers when it comes to payment? Because I don't trust you, how can I entrust my money to you?
Well, I mean, that's a very good question. And I'm going to tell you something. I mean, Apple hasn't been very successful. Google hasn't been very successful. And these are some of the biggest tech companies on the planet. So, as I said, I was going to get you thinking, and I don't think anyone's figured out the answer. The banks have tried it. The telcos have tried it. I think it's a very tough proposition, and I think it's something that in our businesses we need to think about. There are people who trust certain things for certain things, and then you got to figure out how you get. Uber's managed to build some good trust, right? So you got to think about, you know, they've developed convenience, right? There was one of the other things that they struck a chord with their consumers, and they're able to do that.
Last question.
Right here.
Are these kind of payment gateways which are being used on the websites or on different apps, are they being insured, or, for example, if some hacks happen on those apps or websites, so are they insured or covered?
I would say you're fucked. Yeah, no, if you get hacked, like, yes. So if you trust your payment processing, first of all, if you're, yes, so you need to be a very, very big company to weather that storm, is what I will tell you. Because a small company would be totally put out of business if they were hacked. TD Bank can get hacked. Target can get hacked.